But Isengard is a circle of sheer rocks that enclose a valley as with a wall, and in the midst of that valley is a tower of stone called Orthanc. It was not made by Saruman, but by the men of Númenor long ago. And it is very tall and has many secrets, yet it looks not to be a work of craft. It cannot be reached save by passing the circle of Isengard, and in that circle there is only one gate. Greetings and well met, my friends. Yoisten here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today we will be taking a look at Isengard and its history as an ancient stronghold of Gondor, through to its remaking by the hands of the Ents. Let's begin our tale. Angrenost, or Isengard, meaning Iron Fortress, was a stronghold of Gondor near the south end of the Misty Mountains. The Ring of Isengard was a wall of stone that surrounded the Tower of Orthanc at the center of the ring, and the master of the fortress would reside within the tower, assuming that they had the keys. One gate in the south part of the wall would be the only entrance and exit in the fortress, and there was a path that led from the gate to Orthanc. The gate in the south part of the wall was mighty, but still it could be moved noiselessly. Until Saruman corrupted Isengard in the later years of the Third Age, Isengard was filled with greenery, and it even had a part of the river Isen breaching the wall through a portcullis in the northeast part of the ring. Outside of the fortress was the river Isen running down from the Misty Mountains astride the Fangorn Forest, one of the oldest forests in Middle-earth. With the description of Isengard in mind, let's begin to talk about its history. Isengard was built in the late part of the Second Age after the coming of Elendil and his sons from Númenor, and the establishment of Arnor and Gondor in 3320. The men of the West would build Isengard and Orthanc, and they would make the Tower of Orthanc impregnable, for not even the Ents would be able to tear the tower asunder. Within the tower, the Dunedain would place one of the 7 Palantiri, wrought by the hands of the Noldor. For the rest of the Second Age and for the first half of the Third Age, Gondorians held the keep of Isengard and the Orthanc Stone. However, the Gondorians always looked eastwards for danger, and never westwards. According to the Unfinished Tales, eventually Isengard would only be manned by a hereditary Gondorian chieftain and his small force, and they were joined by old hereditary guards of Aglarond, or the Glittering Caves. This force would grow to be more secluded over time, and the Rohirrim would regard the chieftain as the Lord of Isengard, who they believed dealt with dark magic. The walls of Isengard and the dark of Fangorn would carry a dread, so it was seldom that people came to Isengard. After many years, during a time when Rohan and Gondor alike had abandoned care for Isengard, it was eventually discovered that the chieftain's line had failed, and the people that remained in Isengard merged with the people of the Dunlendings. For those of Isengard liked the Dunlendings better than the Northmen who had usurped Calanothon and called it Rohan. The ancient guards who did not agree to merge with the Wildmen were slain. The Dunlendings would then use Isengard as a base, settling in nearby lands. And during the reign of King Deor from 2699 to 2718 of the Third Age, the Dunlendings would reveal themselves as enemies of the Rohirrim once again. The Dunlendings would raid, and the Rohirrim would know that they could not have crossed the Isen at the fords or anywhere south of them, for such places were guarded. So King Deor led a force northwards to find a host of Dunlendings. He had victory over them and sent messengers to Isengard, thinking that the Dunlendings had been besieging the fortress, to find that the stronghold itself was actually manned by his enemies. In 2710 of the Third Age, King Deor sent word to Steward Egelmoth of Gondor, who was unable to send aid. Thus the Dunlendings stayed within Isengard, for Deor had no way to besiege the fortress, and many riders were stationed in the north part of the Westfold to maintain a guard or watch near Isengard. The Dunlendings would commence great invasions into Rohan in 2758, and there is more information about them in my History of Rohan video, which I will link in the description and cards above. After the great invasions led by Wulf, the long winter would come in 2758 to 2759, which would greatly decimate the Dunlendings, and King Frealof, the nephew of King Helm Hammerhand, would finally defeat the Dunlendings of Isengard. Thus, after all of these problems with the peoples of Isengard, it came as a blessing when Saruman the White, chief of the Astari and the White Council, returned from the eastern part of Middle-earth, and offered to take up residence in Isengard to maintain and repair it as a part of the defenses of the West. This was readily welcomed by both King Frealof of Rohan and Steward Baron of Gondor alike. In 2759 of the Third Age, Baron gave Saruman the keys of Orthanc so that the tower may once again be opened and settled in, and the wizard became the sole proprietor of Isengard. The valley that Isengard stood in was named Nan Koronir, meaning the Valley of Saruman, or Saruman's Vale. At this point in time, Saruman's intentions were true, and he would have been a great warden of the West if he had kept his virtue, for he would have held the north part of the River Isen, while the Rohirrim guarded the south part. But as we know, that would not be. In 2851 of the Third Age, not even 100 years after Saruman first took up residence in Isengard, the wizard would begin to show his corruption. During a White Council meeting, he would persuade the council to go against the advice of Gandalf and to not invade Dol Guldur, beginning to reveal his true desire for the One Ring. At some point in time, Saruman would even recover some of the lost heirlooms of Isildur, such as the Elendilmir that drowned with him in the Anduin, for the White Wizard was actually searching for the One Ring. The unfinished tales report that such artifacts would be placed within a steel closet in Isengard until being found by Aragorn and Gimli. Finally, in 2953 of the Third Age, after the last meeting of the White Council, Saruman would take Isengard as his own, becoming its lord, and he would fortify it. The wizard would also begin to aid Rohan's enemies, and he would fall under the sway of Sauron around the year 3000 after communicating with him through the Stone of Orthanc. In the summer of 3018 of the Third Age, Radagast would go to Isengard and speak with Saruman. The White Wizard would ask the Brown Wizard to find Gandalf and invite him to Orthanc, under the false pretenses of lending aid to the Free Peoples, letting him know that the Nine Nazgul were abroad. But on July 10th, when Gandalf arrived, Saruman would reveal himself as Saruman of Many Colors, foregoing his status, and he would share his new designs, hoping to convince Gandalf to join him and Sauron. Our Grey Wizard would refuse this indeed, and in turn he was imprisoned atop Orthanc while Saruman and his new servants cut down trees and constructed forges and machinery, dementing the landscape of Isengard. The river flowing through the ring would also be dammed. Isengard would once again become the home of another enemy of the Free Peoples, and it would be Saruman's base during the War of the Ring. On the 18th of September, Gwaihir the Windlord would espy Gandalf atop Orthanc and rescue the Grey Wizard. Soon after, the Nazgul would come to Saruman, for Sauron believed he knew where the One Ring was. Saruman sent the riders on after Gandalf, correctly believing that he knew the whereabouts of the One Ring. Isengard would then continue to breed orcs, Uruk-hai, wargs, and wolves for the war with Rohan. On the 25th of February in 3019, the First Battle of the Fords of Isen would commence, and the forces of Isengard would have victory, slaying Prince Theodred, the son of King Theoden. On March 2nd, the Second Battle of the Fords of Isen would be fought, and Saruman's forces would go forth into Rohan, going to the Battle of the Hornburg. But on the same day of the Battle of the Hornburg, the Battle of Isengard would unexpectedly begin, when the Ents of the Fangorn Forest went to war. This happened because Saruman's lackeys had damaged, cut, and burned the forest for industry, and the Ents retaliated. The tree herders would overrun the fortress and break the dam of the river that used to flow into Isengard, flooding the fortress. 3 days later, the victors at Helm's Deep would ride to Isengard, and there they were met by the new Door Wardens of Isengard, Merry and Pippin of the Shire. The champions of the West would speak to Saruman, with Gandalf the White at the forefront. Grima Wormtongue would throw the Orthanc Palantir, either at Saruman or Gandalf or both, and the two traitors of the Free Peoples would be left in Orthanc under the watch of Treebeard and his Ents. But the tree herders would come to no pity, and Treebeard, who was now in control of Isengard, would let Saruman and Grima Wormtongue leave in August, and the two villains would depart north for the Shire, giving the keys of Orthanc to Treebeard. The Ent would go on to tell this to the heroes of the West during the return journey home when they went to Isengard. The new king of Gondor, King Elisar, would be given the keys of Orthanc, and the fortress would once again belong to the Free Peoples as it did in the beginning. But the king would give the Ents watch over Isengard. Under the stewardship of the Ents, the walls of Isengard would be torn down, and none were to be granted access to the Tower of Orthanc by the bidding of King Elisar. The Orthanc stone would be kept in Minas Tirith, and the shepherds of the forest would plant the watchwood where Isengard was, and they named the forest the Treegarth of Orthanc. The industrious land that was once Saruman's Isengard would be healed ere the Fourth Age came to be. The unnatural pits, caverns, and scars upon the land would be healed. A small lake would be placed near the Tower of Orthanc. And so what was once Isengard was mended and would live on within nature in the Fourth Age and beyond. And thus our tale about Isengard comes to an end. From the history of Isengard, we see that just because a land is scarred and devastated at one point in time, or is under the dominion of an evil lord, it does not always have to be so. Things and places may be healed with nurtured love and care. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed today's video about Isengard and its history. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. Let me know your thoughts about Isengard in the comments below. Personally, I'm very happy and satisfied with how Isengard was somewhat rejoined with nature at the end of the story. Also, please check out our music channel, Facebook, Twitter, merch, Loot Crate partnership, and Patreon in the description below. We just uploaded our latest podcast to Patreon where my friend and I discussed this month in Middle-earth, some questions, and the recent news about our favorite legendarium. Please consider donating to see it for just $1 a month. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to join the Men of the West and all of the Free Peoples today, and I'll see you all again next week with a video about the War of the Ring and all of its battles. Everyone, as always, thank you all so much for watching and joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my friends.